So, as you know, Solovyov is a Russian propagandist. He's kind of a piece of work. He reminds me of a yappy dog, like the little dog, little tiny dog that is constantly barking at you, thinks he can take you in a fair fight, but he's really like you could punt him across the field, like that kind of thing. He's like that. And in this video, you're going to see him talk about how the US is arrogant and shouldn't get away with providing ATACMS. Well, I mean, he said that about HIMARS and other things as well. But and he's encouraging the America's enemies to attack them wherever they are. And then he shifts gears and he starts talking about a holy war where he wants to see a Muslim holy war, a religious holy war against Israel. Although Solovyov is Jewish and more broadly against the West, the godless West. So he wants a Muslim holy war against Israel and the West, even though he's Jewish and like he thinks this is going to be a good thing. I'm not making this up. You can hear him for yourself. We're going to watch this together. Thanks to the Russian Media Monitor for spending the time to create these videos, and let's start this now. Yes. Meanwhile, Americans secretly delivered ATACMS. We will learn how to deal with them. We will shoot them down. It is really about something else. It's about something else entirely. It's about Americans believing that they can do anything. Here is what I want to say. They delivered ATACMS. We should deliver everything to that America's enemies need. To all of them, any weapons that they need. Now, that's really interesting. Like, you can't deliver enough weapons to provide for your own soldiers in the front lines in Ukraine, and you're going to do that. I'm not sure that that's going to work out so well for you. To make sure that there is not one spot on this earth where soil doesn't burn under the feet of these neo-colonialist critters. Okay, who's he calling neo-colonialist? Like, you're literally colonizing another 4 Ukrainian oblasts. Literally, you're doing that now, and you're calling Americans neo-colonialists. You want to kill Russian people. You are delivering weapons. You're hoping to get away with this. Well, hold on. Let's back up a second. Let's go back a few steps. If you, Russia, pulled out of Ukraine entirely, everything would be done. This would all be over. You wouldn't have to worry about this in the least bit. But you forgot about that piece of the puzzle. Supply any weapons North Korea, Syria, or anyone else needs, anyone who is our ally or a situational ally in this war, give them everything. Well, you don't have it to begin with. I mean, so that's kind of a problem. So that not one American soldier on foreign territory as an occupant the way they are in Syria or threatening their territory like North Korea. Look, American soldiers in South Korea aren't really threatening North Korea. There is kind of a buffer between North Korea and South Korea, so North Korea doesn't go a little nuts, right? They've never concluded that war. They should not feel safe. You want to kill Russians? You think you can get away with it? Don't hope for that, critters. Don't hope for that. Do not hope for that. Okay, so clearly he's in a little bit of a tizzy over the ATACMS. Now, you had to know that this was coming. Like, I mean, if you're at the Russian Ministry of Defense, there is no excuse for what happened the other day. Just because they haven't announced that ATACMS are there, you should have been planning to move things further back for a long time, knowing that it was a possibility that would have come, but okay. I mean, you are in a place of war. You can call it a special military operation all you want, but you are engaged in a war. A black flag was raised above the Razavi Koharan shrine. This is a call for war or revenge. So now he's transitioning and he's going to be talking about what happened in Gaza and Israel. But he's, again, going to skip a step about how the Hamas militants came out and just slaughtered Israelis, and he's just going to skip that and go to whatever Israel is doing in return. Do you even understand what will happen if a global jihad will start? Okay, so nobody's really calling for a global jihad. Maybe there's a few Muslims here and there, but they've probably already been calling for global jihad for a long time. But he wants to have this. He wants to exacerbate this kind of problem. He thinks that's a great thing. Listen, do you understand what will happen when hundreds of millions of Muslims all over the world will say to this cursed society of evil spirits who burn the Quran and kill Muslim women and kids? Okay, so I'm not sure who's doing the burning of the Quran, but the killing Muslim women and kids, I'm sure he's talking about Israel, returning fire back into Gaza, forgetting, completely omitting the step where the Hamas militants were uh, unprovokedly destroying the lives, the families, the houses, hacking Israeli civilians to death. That's a big piece of the puzzle. Do you understand what will happen to these godless liberals all over the world, from Sweden to Washington, from Quebec to Brussels? Do you even understand the horror that can start on planet Earth if a religious war was to start? Now, he actually wants this religious war to start. Now, that's the crazy thing. He's not saying, hey, look, this would be pretty bad. He's saying, do you understand what this is, the wrath that's going to come down upon you? And he wants it. Is anyone able to grasp it? I will repeat once again, I don't know who struck the hospital. Well, I do, and it turns out, if you do your research, that it was a Palestinian-fired missile that kind of lost its power and came down and hit in the parking lot or adjacent to the hospital and caused some damage there, and sure, blew out windows, hurt people, there were casualties, but this wasn't Israel. And he's acting as if, yeah, of course, this is Israel doing this, and there's going to be a holy war that's going to come from this. And the propaganda value that's come out of that has been amazing. But I know who canceled mercy and justice. Wow, that is a pretty profound statement to come out of his mouth. You know who canceled mercy and justice? What happened in February of 2022? Like, you're talking about mercy and justice here? All of these NATO critters and their allies. Oh, that's right. NATO and their allies canceled mercy and justice. It wasn't one country named Russia that was running over the border, the sovereign borders that they were supposed to defend based on the Budapest Memorandum, and they haven't. And they're the cause of this. It's not that at all. Visit Telegram channel Solovyov. And now the weather. Now, he's going to transition to the weather, but they're going to keep talking about this, so we're going to keep watching for just a little bit. It's a terrible morning, a terrible night. Simply terrible. Pure hypocrisy and villainy. Well, I would say so. This is pure hypocrisy. The hypocrisy that comes out, like, I can't understand if he understands how hypocritical he sounds to Ukrainians particularly, but to people that are watching him that don't share his position, talking about how they started this and they're doing this and they're bad and don't understand mercy and justice and that kind of thing. Wow, pure hypocrisy and villainy. What's going on with the weather? Greetings, Vladimir Rudolfovich. The amazing magnitude of cynicism and misanthropy spread like a plague throughout the so-called West. Okay, it is called the West. I don't know why you'd call it so-called West. And what does that have to do with the weather? And everyone who is laying under it, Israelis turn out to be a real disappointment. Ah, we're seeing something, to put it mildly. Okay, we're going to stop there. So Israelis turned out to be a real disappointment. Okay, so now you see their hand revealed about how the Russians view Israel, and Solovyov is hoping for a jihad, a holy war that will wipe out the West. Wow, this is some crazy stuff. Okay, so you heard it from the horse's mouth. I didn't put it in there. Tell me what you think. What do you make of what Solovyov is saying? I'd love to hear it in your comments. Thank you for the likes and the shares, the subscribes, the comments, the coffees. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.